What's going on, good people? Happy Friday to you. It's Iceberg. We're out here in the garden. Hopefully you got your day off to a wonderful start. You know how we like to start that day with those positive affirmations. I love coming out here. It is a beautiful place to be. Listen to the birds. Gonna be quiet now, right? But yeah, I like coming out here. It's a nice, beautiful breeze. I can listen to the birds singing. We got a little bird feeder up. I'll show you that in a second. So we attracting more birds around. Of course, our garden is attracting plenty of pollinators, so it's always a beautiful sight to see. So let's turn this camera around, let y'all take a look at what I'm seeing out here. Real quick there, you see we got our bird feeder. It's attracting birds. It's also attracting a squirrel. I'm trying to keep the squirrel away, but I have been seeing birds out there getting on the bird feeder. So that's always nice. Zooming back out a little bit, taking a look at something that's going on in our garden. As you see, everything is now very tall, exploding the way that we wanted it and expected it to do. That's exactly why we planted it that way, to get our canopy layers, because most of our sun is coming from this direction going towards the garden, right? So you see our flower bed out here. It's blossoming very well, attracting a lot of pollinators. As you can see, we have a lot of blooms. Everything has expanded in the bed, because when I first planted it, you can go back a few videos ago and see how everything was much smaller, but now you see it's taken over the bed. We actually expect these to kind of come and drape over the side and start to come down the side. So we're just looking forward to this bed continuing to attract pollinators, provide a little bit of beauty for us, a little bit of, you know, good smells. We can actually clip some of these blooms and use them in arrangements if we choose to. You know, we have options, right? Going up on our ledge, we got our lettuce. There's a bunch of it up there. Some of it's trying to bolt on me, but some of the rest of it's doing all right. So we're gonna keep working on the lettuce. We can keep, you know, pulling leaves off of that from time to time and making salads, different things like that. I moved some things out here, and as you see, I put some boards that are going up to give some of our plants something to kind of trellis on. This one down here is actually coming down to the ground, and it's actually, you know, trying to root in, but I'm gonna let it do its thing, because as you see, we got something growing right there, and there's a couple more on there. So I'm gonna let it continue to grow on the ground here. Hopefully I can protect it from the yard people when they come by, but we're getting something growing there. I'm gonna let it take advantage of this ground space here. It's a lot of moisture down through here, so hey, if I can cover it with some plant life, I'm all about it. Got a couple more over here that are growing. Some of them going up the trellis, some of them are going down to the ground. But you see, we have a lot of blooms. Things are looking good. I got some neem coming in today, so I'm gonna get out here and spray everything really well with some neem once that gets in this afternoon, so I can get rid of some of these white spots on my leaves. I'll end up trimming some of the leaves away, but I'll give everything a good douse of neem, and hopefully that will get rid of some of the little mildew and things like that that we have going on. One of my bean plants, you see we got some beans growing on there. Some little beans in there. So we got a variety. We always plant a variety because you never know what's going to grow. As you see, our pepper plants are still kind of lagging behind. I may need to move them to some more sun possibly, because now this zucchini plant is shading everything a lot more. But once I get out here this afternoon and trim some leaves and stuff, we'll see how things are looking. These are some tomato plants. They're still not really producing any tomatoes yet, but I need to actually give them some fertilizer. Our snow peas, those look like they're probably about done producing, but we'll see. They're still green, so I'm not gonna pull them up quite yet. Coming inside to get another closer look at our lettuce. Different varieties. I don't remember which one is which now. This one here is actually bolting. Another one here, nice and green. Everything is looking nice on that one. It's a red variety. And another green one. This here, what you're seeing, is my mustard that I had. It actually was from last year, I believe. I planted this mustard. It survived through the winter and then came back again, you know, stayed through this summer or through this early spring. Well, there's a bunch of seed pods on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let them stay here and let them dry out. I've already looked into how to harvest them. So once these dry out, I'll harvest these seeds out of here and I'll use them to plant mustard for the next season. So I have a lot of seed pods here. I think I'll be able to get a lot of seeds out of this. But we're gonna wait for them to turn brown and dry out and all of that, and then we'll do our deal on them. Coming around into this bed, as you see, we have all types of stuff growing. This is a honeydew. I don't know what it's going to do. This is my first time actually trying to grow honeydew, so we'll see what happens. We got some onion back there. We got zucchini. I'll be able to show you on the other side more of the zucchini growing, but you can see there's one here, one up here, one back there. There's some more back on the back. As you see, our sage, our catnip, more sage, lemon verbena, lemon balm. All of them are kind of getting shaded a little bit by our zucchini and squash plants, but as I was saying, I'll get out here this afternoon and do some more pruning. Down here is a cantaloupe. It's not really doing much. It doesn't get as much sun down here, but it is trying to grow up here. I'm gonna let it grow, see what it does. Maybe I'll get some fruit producing on it, because we do have some spots where it's trying. So I'm gonna let it keep going, see what happens. Coming on around. So we got our little 2-seater that we built. Excited to build some more of those. But moving around. We have stuff everywhere. We're taking advantage of all the space that we have. This is, I don't know actually. Oh, this is squash. It looks like yellow squash. Yep. So this is a yellow squash plant. Here's another one of our bean plants. And you actually see this one has large beans on it. This needs to come off actually. Look at this. Look how large that green bean is. So some of our plants are doing good in different places, as you can see. This is another one of our squash plants, and as you can see, there's a bunch of yellow squash in there. Just looking around, all of the yellow, those are squash. There's some more up here that are green, about to turn yellow. So our squash plant is liking it down here. This is a cucumber plant. So there's some cucumbers. We got a bunch of buds. I got to get out here and make sure I'm pulling some of those pups off. See, like this, they need to come off. So I got to get out here and get the pruning on that. But this evening I plan on doing a lot of that. We got a good rain yesterday. Everything got a good watering yesterday. That's a creeping rosemary there. It's fine underneath the shade. This is another cucumber plant that is really tall. Has a lot of buds on it. So again, I got to get out here and do some maintenance on it. Get rid of the pups so the actual fruit can grow and get all of the energy. See, look right there. There's a cucumber right there. A small one. Another one right there. So I've been working on them as they go, grow up. You have to continue to come out here and do your maintenance on your plants. You have to see what's going on with them. And with cucumber plants, you have to remove the pups so the actual fruit gets the energy. Because if not, it won't grow. See, these right here are a bunch of pups that you pull off. And that allows your fruit to get the energy that it needs. I learned that last season. Look, there's one right there. There's a cucumber right there. So you see this here? That's a bunch of pups around there. Those need to come off. The cucumber has the flower on it. There's a flower there starting to form. If it gets pollinated, it will become a cucumber. So make sure you're doing your maintenance on your plants. You have to get out and take care of them. You got to look at them, see what's happening. And then, like I said, certain plants like this, it's going to come. So you have to get out and do your maintenance so you actually get your fruit producing. There's maintenance you have to do on tomato plants as well. I got a tomato plant upstairs. I'll show it to you in a little bit. It's actually starting to produce a bunch of tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. So again, cucumber, There's pups right there on that. So I need to pull those pups off. Leave the flower. See the flower that's there? You leave the flower. So this cucumber plant, you see, it's very tall. I knew it was going to do that. That's why I put the tall stakes with my cucumber plants. I was hoping they would grow up really tall, provide this backside canopy. They can get sun a little bit from this side, a lot from the other side, but the plants on the other side won't be growing up in front of it, so it can get plenty of sun. Moving on to our zucchini plant, last but not least, and you see there's zucchini growing on there. There's one right there that's getting pretty decent size and length. There's another one in there. Over here on this side, there's one back there. There's more on there. I can't see them all really right now. You'll be able to see the zucchini much better once it gets larger and turns, you know, more of its green color. You know, like that one back there, you can see there's more contrast in its color from the stalks. But when they're young, they still kind of look like the stalk as opposed to looking like a zucchini. So you just have to know what you're looking for, and that comes with experience. This is now my third year, I believe, third or fourth year planting zucchini and squash. And tomatoes and a few other things. So I'm learning as I go how they grow, what I need to do to prune them along the way, and how I can make them grow in methods that is good for the space that I have. As you see, I try to grow my zucchini as vertical as possible, as opposed to letting it spread out very wide. I try to force it to grow up. So as you see, my zucchini leaves are growing up. The same with the squash. I try to get it to grow up. Now, if you come and look at this squash plant down here, I have not done that. So as you see, it's growing out, it's spreading. It's trying to spread and reach out and grow in different areas as opposed to growing up. So there's different ways you can grow the plants based on the space that you're working with. So if you're working in a small space like me, you may want to get you some stakes and different things, ties and stuff like that, so you can force your plants to grow up. Now, what I've learned how to do with my zucchini and squash, because the stalks are so stiff, I don't necessarily need to tie them off much anymore. I used to tie them with, whether I'm using bread ties that I bought, or I have a little kind of twine, things like that. I used to tie them off. Now I can just actually put the stakes in a place and force it to grow by just kind of moving the leaves here and there. And then of course, I know I'm going to come in and prune the leaves at different times to give more energy to the fruit. So I can just place the stakes whenever I first plant it, like I did on the other side, to force the plant back this way. And then I can move the leaves as it's growing. Again, these are things you will learn in time and with experience of growing the different things that you like to grow. That's what you're going to study. That's what you'll focus on, learning how to grow. Different stuff down here. I know this is mint. These other things are mainly pollinator plants. Another lettuce here. You see we got our marigolds down there. We have to keep things around to bring the pollinators, and your bees and your hummingbirds and stuff like that. They like these type of flowering plants that bring them around to also get to the flowers of your zucchini, your cucumbers, and your cantaloupe, your squash, your honeydew, all of that stuff as well. They need to come around for those as well. All right, over here we got more peppers down there. So I rearranged things over here. I used to have radishes and kale and stuff. I brought the peppers and tomatoes and stuff over here because it gets more sun in this area. So we got peppers in the back, more peppers here. Of course, all of this stuff is really small still. Over here we have some carrots right there. This is a tomato plant. Of course, tomato in the cage. Another tomato here. Pepper in the front, and cabbage over on the left. That's a red cabbage. And then swinging over, we have all of our kale, radishes. There is a tomato plant in the middle there with some basil actually planted down there with it. You see that basil down there in the bottom. And then these are two tomato plants up here. Like I said, a lot of kale, radishes, all of that good stuff down there. More pollinators, flowers up on the ledge, because again, you gotta have your pollinators around or none of this works. You gotta be able to accept the bees around and the birds and all of that stuff. The birds and the bees are part of what makes all of this work. Without bees, nature would cease to exist because nothing would get pollinated. Gotta have your pollinators. Even this gal right here, she has buds on her. She's attracting pollinators. So let me take you upstairs real quick, give you a glance at what I got going on up there, and then we're gonna get y'all up out of here. We're upstairs now. We have a lot more going on up here. And you see over here, we have some trees growing. These actually just naturally started growing. We decided to take care of them and transplant them into larger containers. We're going to take them and plant them out on our land is the plan for them. So we have a couple maples here and a couple elms here that we plan on taking and transplanting as we nurture them for a couple years here. This is our oregano that I've been cutting it back and it just keeps coming back. We have Greek oregano here that's basically become a perennial for us. Different flowers, because again, you need your pollinators. Some of our snow peas that aren't really producing peas anymore. I think they're probably getting to the end of their life cycle. But as I was telling y'all with the stakes, sometimes you can just wrap things around it without actually having to tie it. That's what I did there. That is not tied anywhere. It's grabbing on because these types of vining plants, they have the tendrils that grab on to things, but I have not actually physically tied it anywhere. I'm just placing it using the stakes to kind of hold it in place, and it grabs onto the stakes and continues to grow up. More pollinators, some kale in the back. Some bolting spinach back there that needs to be cut. This is actually a form of oregano that we don't really eat it, but it actually flowers. So we put that in there. Again, more pollinators. Got some mint here. What kind of mint is that? Spearmint. Of course, our petunias that have come back, perennial. So you got to have your pollinators right. Got a hibiscus there. More perennials, petunias. We got more lettuce because you got to have the lettuce. You want to make salads, you got to have lettuce, right? So we got 3 different species here. And this is our tomato plant, our cherry tomato plant. And as you can see on this guy, it is exploding. So all of these buds, all of these flowers, potential to be tomatoes. As you see, that one right there is already becoming a tomato, and so is these 2 back here. So each one of these places, because it's cherry tomatoes, you see there's probably about 10 to 12 different spots there that can become tomatoes. And this is up at the top of the plant. We got another cluster there. We have another cluster there, right? So as we come down, we see these clusters that actually have tomatoes on them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a potential for like about 5 more right there on that vine. As we come down, there's another cluster in here that's forming. There's another cluster right here. And actually take this leaf off. It's dying and draining energy, but as you see, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And a potential for like 3 more. So we're getting about 12 tomatoes in one little cluster. Actually, and there's potential for a bunch more out there. That one right there could produce 20 tomatoes. We come down, here's another one. There's about 4 in there. So what I'm saying is, as you look down the plant, I've pruned these vines because the ones below where your tomatoes are growing, they're just taking energy away. Even these little suckers like this, you gotta pull those off. You gotta trim this stuff. You want to make sure that you still keep some up above it so there's a canopy of shade on your tomatoes so everything doesn't get burned out. But the ones that are below where your tomatoes are growing, you can trim those vines off. See, all these little nubs, there were vines at all of these places, but they were not producing tomatoes. They were just like this. This vine right here is not producing tomatoes. Only reason I'm not cutting this vine is because it's above this one right here on the same line, and it helps to provide shade. Now this little sucker, I'll pull that. Same up here. I don't want to clip these because I want them to be able to provide shade for my tomatoes down below. But I don't want the stuff down below the tomatoes to be taking the energy, because your energy is coming from your soil. Your water and all of that stuff that goes into your soil provides the nutrients up through the vines. So you want it to be getting to where you have tomatoes actually growing and providing the energy to them. That's why this thing is exploding, because the first vine that branches off is the vine for the tomatoes. That's why it's trying to produce almost 20 tomatoes on that one vine alone. Come over here, the same thing. You got that one producing however many, 4 or 5, and then it goes up, that's a vine not producing. And then that's another vine not producing, but they're providing shade for this one, and then it comes up, boom, another one producing. So it's all about learning the plants that you grow because of the food that you and your family like to eat. You see this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's like 12 to 13 places where that one could produce. It's already producing 5, and as it goes out, it just keeps on branching and producing more. We're gonna fertilize this afternoon, so hopefully it'll put even more energy into all of these tomatoes, and we'll have some tomatoes ready to harvest here in a couple of weeks. But again, it's all about just taking that action, planting that seed. What are you gonna do? It's never too late. You can grow stuff year round. It all depends on what zone you're in. You need to look at your hardiness zone. I did a video probably about a year ago explaining what hardiness zones are. You need to learn what your hardiness zone is, and then find out what grows well during what parts of the season. All of this stuff, all of this information is readily available for you. You just have to take the action, put the seed in the soil, give it a little bit of water. I'm barely watering my stuff now. The rain is giving me enough water for most of my plants. Every once in a while, I'll look at something and it gets a little droopy, I'll give it some water. But for the most part, the rain is taking care of my plants as far as water. It's obviously taking care of my plants as far as sun. I have not provided any artificial sun for any of them. So all it takes is a little bit of action on your part, and you could be growing things for you and your family to eat. This bean is almost the size of my hand. You see me holding it up there. It's almost the size of my hand. I didn't do much but put this in soil. I didn't even expect this plant that produced this bean to grow, because these were the kind of extras. This wasn't one I planted in the bed or anything. These were the extras. So I wasn't sure if it was going to grow. But as you see, it's producing beans the size of my hand already. I'm going to get down there and harvest some more and hope it produces another round of them. All you have to do is take a little bit of action. You can't be lazy if you want to do gardening, if you want to grow your own food. That's the convenience that you're paying for going to the grocery store. But it only takes a little bit of work. Once you do that little bit of work, Mother Nature does a lot of the rest of it for you. You just have to get out there, enjoy the beauty of it, listen to the birds sing while you're doing it. Hey, you may just find some peace in it for you. It's a place of peace for me. It's a place of comfort for me. It's a place where I can just outlet and expel all of the nonsense and negativity that the day's trying to put upon me. Right there in my garden, right there connected to nature, putting my hands in the soil. You got to get back connected to the earth, good people. Connected to the earth is cleansing for your body, it's cleansing for your spirit, it's cleansing for your soul. We can all use a little bit more of that, right? Till next time, good people, this is Iceberg. Hopefully you are out there having a wonderful day, and hopefully you're going to enjoy this beautiful weekend. Hopefully the weather is good where you are. Even if it's not, take advantage. That rain is a good thing. Learn the benefit of the rain and how to use it to your advantage. Maybe you're going to collect some of the rainwater. I'm still working on getting that established here. But take advantage of whatever your situation is. There's always an ability to grow something, good people. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Do something positive for somebody today and this weekend. And until next time, good people, this is Iceberg. Salute.